friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Today was a big day in court in Utah for Ruby Franke and for Jodi Hildebrandt. And during Ruby's statements to the court, I was left feeling a little bit underwhelmed. She took no responsibility because even though she was saying that she took accountability, she was blaming Jodi Hildebrandt throughout. Ruby seemed pretty focused on the fact that she wanted to do the right thing for God. And her minutes-long address about what happened and all of her responsibilities and her accountability, it was very rambly, for sure. And it kind of felt like an Academy Awards presentation, but you're getting the wrong kind of award. And obviously, this was a very polarizing case because it involved something that happened that people saw happening on YouTube. It was pretty significant because she had a YouTube platform with over 2 million followers that were tuning in to watch all things about her children. And fans got obsessed with her kids. And they also kind of got worried when they saw things that were happening on the channel that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And when she abandoned her channel and started going on this Moms of Truth situation with Jodi, people were a little bit confused because it seemed like Ruby was on this very opposite platform of what she had always been doing. And I won't say that she doesn't have responsibility in here, but there is something to be said about Jodi's overwhelming influence over her life. In court, it was a mixed bag between Ruby in many ways taking responsibility to a degree, and then Jodi showing no responsibility, like taking no responsibility. In fact, I believe her attorney called Jodi's statement hollow, meaning like without any emotion. This case caused a lot of conversation on the platform. There was a lot of people, women specifically, that were influenced by Jodi and by Ruby. And Ruby's influence cannot be understated in that Jodi was after Ruby's platform, which is something that Ruby's brother told the court in a statement to the court about just how much influence Jodi had on his sister. But there wasn't really any recognition to the mothers that she had influenced with some of these teachings that she was telling them to do. So while this chapter closes and there's justice served, there's still a lot of question marks about all the other people that were influenced and if there's other cases out there that we just don't know about. So let's dive into today's topic. Before we do, can you make sure to give this video a thumbs up? Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Ruby and Jodi really could have done a lot of really great things with the platform that Ruby had. They could have impacted people in such a positive way. The levels that they went to were the lowest I've seen on this platform. And there was a lot of tears by Ruby. There was a lot of sadness by Ruby. Her speech to the court, or her discussion or her statement to the court, was extremely long. And while Ruby expressed her remorse, there was a lot of blame shifting in her statement.
Check it out. Counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. A distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was a place filled with cops who control, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect.
Here's why I don't believe her. Because Ruby was, I don't know, 36, 37 years old when she met Jodi. And you mean to tell me that you threw away 37 years of knowledge and experience that you had in the real world and then were seemingly just brainwashed out of nowhere to believe that police officers were bad people? That somehow people at the hospital were there to hurt you, or that even church leaders were bad? After 37 years, she was just going to suddenly come to these conclusions? I don't believe it. because Ruby was demonstrating before Jodi that she had very extreme beliefs as a parent before Jodi came into the picture. And I feel like it's very easy, and I understand that she was influenced because Jodi was her mentor and that Jodi was a therapist and she did have horrible influence over Ruby. I don't think anyone without a subset of beliefs that support what she's saying would stay for 2 minutes in her belief system. And I believe some of these things that she is blaming on Jodi are things that the LDS church taught her to be suspicious of. I mean, the LDS church is the one that tells her that they're the ones that have the authority, not the law. That only God is the rightful authority, right? The one mighty and strong, the prophet. They're the ones that make her doubt medical and medicine, that believe in revelation and faith healing. She already had a belief system that was perfect for Jodi's system. She already believed half of what Jodi was telling her. And a lot of the strategies Jodi was using were strategies implemented by other therapists in the same genre. So yes, what Jodi was teaching was wrong, but I don't believe that Ruby was suddenly influenced this way. I think it's evident if you could actually go back and watch that she actually had a lot of these same beliefs before. Now, in between that, she was crying and thanking the law enforcement that were basically helping her kids, the hospitals that helped her kids. She thanked DCFS as though she has any right to even know what her children are doing. She thanked them for taking care of her children, for healing the things that she caused, which was so weird. It was weird because it felt more like a Grammy speech. It felt more like an Oscar nomination where you're like thanking the people in your life that do good things for you. And then it wasn't until the very end. She didn't even start to cry until she brought up her husband. Those were the first tears that she had. And I felt very self-serving.
My husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy to my babies. I was so disoriented. I believed dark was light and light was wrong. My willingness to sacrifice all three was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly.
The guilt that she puts on Kevin and she puts on her children in this point, in this statement, is atrocious. I cut out a lot of it, but she likened herself to a mama duck that would round up her ducklings and always bring them to safety. And then somehow she was deceived and she was told that right was wrong and good was bad and that she was manipulated to do these things. So even as she's apologizing to her kids, she is not taking responsibility. She is saying, it's Jodi's fault that I was deceived, that I made these decisions to do that to you. That is a burden that she has put onto her children, that they should forgive her because she has been deceived. And this is echoed in a letter that her mother and father wrote to the judge. Before Ruby became involved with Jodi Hildebrandt, she was a wonderful mother, daughter, sister, member of the church. All she ever wanted was from the time that she was a little girl, was a family to love and nurture. When she began having troubles with her teenage son, Chad, she sought out a family therapist and counselor to help them. Who actually referred her to them? To Jodi. It's odd that they always keep bringing up the church. Like, she thanked her bishop and her state's leader, but it was the church that referred her to Jodi. The church. So whose fault is it? It's amazing how the church is getting completely unscathed in this. And they're even defending the church, even though the church is the one that referred her to Jodi. Jodi must have been offering something that the church felt was beneficial, right? We noticed a shift in Ruby's thinking the summer of 2020. And by the fall, she cut all ties to us, her siblings and close friends. For 3 years, what brief communication we had with her, she accused us of either things that never happened or grossly exaggerated the events that did. She was delusional. She was so deeply brainwashed and we could not recognize her. We received a postcard from Ruby 2 months after the terrible news of the children. We read her tender apology and humble acceptance of accountability. She expressed her gratitude for being incarcerated and felt the mighty wake-up call was a huge blessing. Since then, we have seen a return to the Ruby we once knew. Her thoughts and views are her own now. Her love, appreciation, and commitment to her family is stronger than it ever has been before. Ruby is more concerned about her eternal salvation than her imprisonment. Her testimony of the Savior and his atoning power means everything to her. So what I'm gathering here is that Ruby feels guilty because now she's worried she's going to go to hell for what she did. That is not taking accountability. That's worrying that you did something so bad you're going to go to hell. Maybe you should have thought about that before you made that decision. They said, as her mother and father, we plead with you to show her as much mercy as you possibly can. Hopefully in time, she will have a relationship with her children and they will remember the mother she once was to them and will find it in their hearts to forgive her. This would be the greatest healing balm for all of them. No, Jennifer and Chad Griffiths. The best healing balm for the children is to never speak to their mother again. Ruby wasn't just brainwashed overnight, wasn't just systematically pushing people out of her life because of Jodi. They're painting her like she was this docile flower that could do no wrong until big bad sinister Jodi entered the picture. And I don't know how many of you watched her channel before Jodi was around, but she was definitely not your average YouTuber. And this is her sister who promotes blanket training. They're making this about God, about the church, and about how Jodi led them astray. And she, even in her statement, refers to herself as the prodigal daughter. She is still delusional, and I don't think Jodi is the reason why. I think there is severe mental health issues on top of that. But again, none of this excuses or even explains her decisions. She got power. She got her ego boost. She felt needed, she felt validated, she felt powerful telling mothers what to do and telling them they were wrong. She felt like she knew something no one else did and she was going to shame and degrade and humiliate anyone that told her what she was saying was wrong. She had 1 million people around her telling her that what she believed was wrong and she still did it. She had 1 million opportunities to wake up before it came to this point. And I will say this confidently, there have been other family people that have gone through Jodi's programs that never went to the lengths that Ruby did, ever, that refused to abide by these rules. So really, is she remorseful or is she just looking for a scapegoat? Again, yes, Jodi did hold a position of authority. And yes, the judge did throw the book at Jodi, 100%. But you can't just be brainwashed and do what you did. And I feel like this is what they're going to be using when they try to get her parole in 4 years. But that's just my opinion. So the judge ended up sentencing her to 4 consecutive 1 to 15 year sentences of up to 60 years in prison. As a term of their agreement, they will remain neutral with the state parole and probation board when she comes up for review every, I don't know if it's 6 months or every year of her sentence. She has to serve a minimum of 4 years. And it's up to the parole and probation board based on her ability to show remorse, rehabilitation, all of these different aspects. It's going to be more than just a placated statement and sobbing to the judge than what she did, her performance today. I mean, the amount of time she used for her statement was just another indication of how narcissistic this woman is, because she spent, 5 minutes addressing the court. And the fact that her family will willingly try to enable her to have a relationship with her kids, and they say that that will be a healing balm. Maybe when the kids are old enough themselves as adults to come to that, but I don't believe as minor children they should ever be forced to be in the same room as their abuser. So her sentence is 4 consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years. The maximum is up to 60 years. There's a state law that I believe you can only serve up to 30. But because this was imposed and she agreed to consecutive sentences, I believe that's why it's being reported as 60 years, because this is what she's agreed to serve. So when it comes to Jodi, this is wild because the state says they have audio of Jodi basically still blaming the kids and not showing any remorse. So while Ruby is pretending she's remorseful, Jodi pretends even harder, and check this out.
After being caught, Ms. Hildebrandt has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators. She has gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies. Her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned.
Jodi Hildebrandt refused to participate in interview with the parole and probation hearing for the pre-sentencing report. She refused to offer any explanation or share any information about her role, her responsibility, or any of it. To which her attorneys tried to explain away and say that I don't know if they believed it was going to be misconstrued, but the attorney was calling what the prosecutors here said and the state said as allegations. She was on recorded phone calls with state lines from county jail telling people that the kids are the ones that hurt her, that she is the victim of the children, that the children are the ones that were wrong, not her, that she is being wrongly imprisoned, and that everything in this hearing is going to be a lie. After all of that information is provided, and they're like, we're going to provide this audio to the parole and probation hearings, her attorneys call that allegations. Like they're just throwing mud at her, slinging it, like they have no proof. Jodi has repeatedly felt justified in what she's done because this is her modality and this is what she believes. She believes in her own delusions. I think her niece Jessie said it best, where she feels like Jodi has a level of psychopathy and no remorse. And so naturally, when you hear the state say, we have recorded audio of her saying this, and her attorneys are defending her, and then Jodi gives her ridiculous statement, which I want you to hear, you'll understand that this was another performance for Jodi, much like Ruby's performance.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. I did not go to trial, so I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution.
In her very short statement to the judge, Jodi expressed no remorse. There was not an apology. There was no indication that what she had done was wrong. There was no indication that she was sad for what she had done. She says, I love these children. I want them to heal emotionally and physically. Which, by the way, she could be believing that they still need to repent and heal themselves because she believes they are wicked. She says, I don't want them to go to trial because I don't want them to relive it. No, I think what she didn't want was she didn't want to hear what she had done to them. She didn't want that information exposed. She didn't want her life put out for the masses. She was not going to trial, not to protect the kids, but to protect her identity and to protect herself and her self-image. She doesn't say she's sorry. She doesn't express remorse. Nothing. It's like hollow words, which is exactly how her attorney described
She
it.
might say to the author of the pre-sentence report, probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Does Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
See how that happened? Do you see what happened there? The judge says, the attorney's like, I didn't have her talk to the probation and parole board because I had a feeling that whatever she said would sound hollow, meaning I know that my client has no remorse and does not care and does not recognize or attribute what she did as wrong. That my client still believes that she was justified in what she did. That my client will still make the opinion and holds the opinion that it was the children that deserved everything that she did to them. And the judge clearly is like, does she even recognize that her behavior is what caused the situation? And then her attorney says she recognizes that, she and Ruby Franke might have done something and their conduct could have contributed. It was a very roundabout, I don't think my client does. I don't think Jodi's capable of remorse. And that's like such an indication of someone that's like a psychopath or a sociopath, because she in her mind believes that what she was teaching people was the truth, and that what she was telling Ruby to do and what she was doing along with Ruby was justified. Telling a child to jump into a cactus and standing outside on a cement patio all day for days at a time, making them do wall sits, climbing up and down the stairs with boxes. I mean, there was so much that she did. And to her, she believed that she was doing it to save them and to save their souls for salvation, because she was the judge, the jury, and she was God. She will never express remorse. And the judge was extremely clear with her that her methodology lacked common sense.
Your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. What happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence.
Jodi was sentenced to consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years in prison. As a part of her plea agreement, she has to serve them consecutively, and the judge said that they had to be served consecutively. Her sentence will be reviewed and monitored by the Utah Parole and Probation Department, and they will determine the length of each one of those consecutive sentences. Each one carries a minimum of a year, and because Jodi does not have remorse, it's unlikely that she can be reformed. A part of a sentence and completion of a sentence, if you want to be paroled, is recognizing the gravity of your crimes, the impact on the victims, and whether or not your thoughts and your modalities and your behavior can be altered and changed so that you are safe to society. I don't believe that she can be reformed. I don't believe someone with that level of what I believe, as Jesse said, is psychopathy can change. If anyone of the two of these women is not going to get out, it is Jodi. I believe that Ruby has a better shot at being reformed because she has shown at least a minute amount of her remorse, although she is still blaming Jodi. And while, yes, the modalities were Jodi's, she still holds the responsibility as the parent for taking her children down that path and for going to that drastic step. Will Ruby serve 60 years? Probably not. I could see her serving at least a decade. I think Jodi will serve close to the maximum. I don't think that she is capable of change. And if she is, it'll be hollow, it'll be fake, and it'll be to serve her best self-interests, which is what the judge said. It's self-serving. So that is what happened in court today. I'm sure there'll be more updates with responses from the family and with more from what's going to happen next. But for now, I would love to know what your thoughts are. Please tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.